Hi folks, just catching up on Friday's news. The thing that was in the papers on Friday was mainly about the CIA and other special forces training the rebels in Libya. In what's this one? In the Times, it actually states that CIA agents have been operating in Libya for several weeks after President Obama authorised covert support for the anti-Gaddafi rebels, including weapons. Now that's really interesting because this is on Friday, and Wednesday, Thursday we were seeing in the newspapers that an order had been signed. Hillary Clinton was saying there'd been no agreement. The UN mandate said, it was suggested the UN mandate didn't actually allow for arming of the rebels, but here we are in the Times saying, well, it's interesting the way they twist this around, isn't it? So in the last couple of days the CIA have been authorised to go in and start training the rebels, and here this report is saying they've been there for several weeks. Now we already know that actually they were in there weeks, months before the conflict even began. So it's interesting the way the mainstream media kind of twist the words around, because if you read this you'll just go, you'll have this idea the order's been signed for weeks when in fact it was only literally days ago. In fact, it goes on to say Robert Gates, the US Defense Secretary, refused to comment on reports that CIA operatives had been at work in eastern Libya for 3 weeks, long before the United Nations resolution was passed. And kind of contradicts himself, because he said, hey, we've just been in the last few weeks, but there might be this rumour that the CIA have been in 3 weeks before the resolution was passed. Of course they were. No government's just going to have a UN resolution passed and then say, okay, well, should we send some of our people in then? Should we start thinking about who we're going to arm, or who we're going to support, how we're going to do that? Of course they plan it, weeks, months, years in advance. So when these events play out, they know how they're going to react. But they don't wait, because they know that, at some point they'll either just go in on their own, or they'll just send the forces in, or they'll get a UN mandate and they'll do it that way. So of course, British SAS were already in there weeks before, and now we're seeing that CIA were in there before. No one should imagine that this doesn't happen. The governments are not going to just kind of wait around and react as things unfold. They're going to pre-plan it. This is what they always want. It says here, the order paves the way for the supply of weapons to the rebels, although officials are at pains to emphasise that no decision has been taken. But like I say at the start of this article, he says, Obama authorised covert support for the anti-Gaddafi rebels, including weapons. So even within sort of 4 paragraphs, there's 3 different stories going on here. And Mr. Gates acknowledged the rebel army would need considerable outside help if they were to move on Tripoli, but ruled out sending troops to train an opposition force. No, they don't send the troops, they just send the CIA. So that was in the Times. That's their article. But again, we already know this idea that the CIA maybe have just been sent in is a fallacy. They've been in there for weeks and months. What's this one from? I think this is the Evening Standard. This goes on about special forces in Libya train rebel to topple leader. Again, this was on Friday. So basically the same story. But yeah, in Libya, there we are. We've got CIA training them up. We know this. There's another couple of threads here as well, that a Tripoli fixer asked to London talks while on visit to family. So in a secret London location, a few days ago, 2 senior British officials met a Libyan fixer close to Colonel Gaddafi's family. Mohammed Ismail slipped in to London ostensibly on a private visit to see his wife and children who live here. It says that Gaddafi sent one of his most trusted envoys to meet the British government, amid signs the regime may be looking for an exit strategy. This is very telling actually about the role of Britain. So Britain tends not to put itself out there, like France led the attacks, seemed pretty keen to get in there and lead the attacks. They've always had quite a history with Africa, though, haven't they? So maybe we can see a bit of a kind of connection going on there. And of course, the US pretty keen to go and attack places where they feel they can. I think they can anyway, but you know what I mean. Well, Britain doesn't. British government tends to play low key, and I think either go along with a massive UN consensus or European consensus, sometimes, though not all the time, but then definitely supporting the US. So our role, I think, is not so much direct military activity, but we do, we will support it if it's going on. But what we do is things like this. We'll collaborate with the Bank of England collaborating with the Federal Reserve. We'll have people like this Tripoli fixer being asked to London, and we seem to be playing more of that role, don't we? So we can be in the background sort of doing stuff while the US is perhaps more prominent on the world stage, which is right because we don't have anywhere near the military, etc. Even if we should be doing, I don't think we can. And this is from the Times, I think. It emerged last night that an aide to Colonel Gaddafi's son, Saif al-Islam, who is still loyal to the regime, visited London in recent days and met British officials. So again, same story, but in here it says, we believe the regime is crumbling and this is some kind of way out for them. They're trying to find some kind of way out. Musa Kusa on the front of the page here, looking rather stressed. This is a guy who's also defected to the UK. Again, this seems to be part of our little regime here. Libya plays down Musa Kusa's defection to Britain. MI6 will be all over him. MI6 building is right in the centre of London, actually. I was looking at that building the other day. I'll take some pictures and share them with you. But they want to investigate this guy, obviously, because he was expelled from Britain around the 1980s. We've had an interesting series of events with Libya. There was allegedly he arranged for the assassination of two people who were outspoken against the regime, assassinated in London, by the way, and they were, and had said before that he approved of the killing of two more people. There was, I'm not sure when, PC Yvonne Spencer, I think her name was, who was shot. There were some riots going out, or protests going outside the Libyan embassy in London, and it's on camera. Literally, gun appears behind the curtains, boom, and she's shot dead. Seemingly, this guy was in charge of intelligence. Did he know about this? Allegedly. And then, of course, in January 2009, says he visits Britain for Lockerbie discussions, because of course it's assumed that he authorised the bombing of Lockerbie, the plane over Lockerbie in Scotland. So this guy's a right character. But isn't it interesting the way someone like that can have this relationship? They just repair this relationship. It's incredible. And David Cameron, British Prime Minister, saying Gaddafi's rotten regime is crumbling, so why don't you, encouraging his people to leave. So that's what's happening in Libya. It seems to be a case of, I thought actually there was some more information about others that might be defecting. And again, the idea that they're going to defect to London. When they fly these people in, I said before, they fly them into Farnborough Airport. They don't go into London, Heathrow, Stansted or Gatwick. They come into Farnborough, which is a southeast regional airport. But it's got a number of entrances and exits. It's a very big airport. You're never going to see these, the planes coming in. I mean, they could be on any plane at the end of the day. There's going to be some kind of private jet which land here all the time. Just trying to see if I can find these other characters. Yeah.